Okay, to understand vector, you don't necessarily need to know math. You need to be familiar with it. You don't need to do the math. The computer does that for you. But really what you're looking at with vector is x-axis and y-axis. So width and height. And with vector, you're able to scale up seamlessly from small sizes to big sizes. So what you want to be thinking about is the little dots that you might put onto a graph that you could graph on one of these axes, and the lines that go between those dots. So for instance, when you are using the pen tool, you are putting out a series of dots to create your artwork. So instead of just clicking and dragging like you may be used to in other programs, what you're going to be doing is clicking and letting go. And then as you go, there's like this little rubber band that goes between that and the next space. So you can create straight lines, you can create curved lines. But really what you're doing is you're just dropping points in that space. So as you go, you'll be able to create shapes that way. Because what you're in essence doing is simply just putting dots down and then connecting those dots with lines. Now those dots that you put down when you're using the pen tool are called anchor points. So there are a couple of different kinds of anchor points. If I just click and release and then move my mouse and then click and release and move my mouse, I'm going to have straight line segments in between those anchor points. Now what happens here is this anchor that's right here at that corner is called a corner anchor point. Okay, so there are corner anchor points and then there are smooth anchor points. So if you want just straight lines, you'll use corner anchor points. So that's just click, release, and you'll be able to make those straight segments. If you'd like to make a smooth bend or a curve, you will make a smooth anchor point. So if I click and release and then come over to where I want to drop the next anchor point and then click, but this time instead of releasing, if I pull the mouse, you'll notice that there's two handles that come out, and those handles are directional guides for the segments between the anchor points. So you can see as I release, this anchor point that I'm pointing to right here is controlling the bend between those other two anchor points. Okay, that is a smooth anchor point when it has handles on it. And that allows you to really precisely draw curved shapes and curved lines. Okay, and I can continue doing that, just clicking and dragging. And I can bring it back to the original anchor point. And I could drop it there, and now I've got a shape. Okay, so those are, again, corner anchor points and smooth anchor points. Now there are a couple of different lines that you're going to draw. In vector, lines are actually called paths. Sometimes you're not able to see the paths, and sometimes you are able to see the paths, depending on the properties of that particular object that you're drawing. And we'll get more into that soon. But let me just show you the two different types of paths. The first is called a closed path, which, as you might guess, this path ends up closing on itself and becoming a shape. So if you see something that looks like a shape, that is going to be a closed path. If you see a path that doesn't kind of go back on itself, like a snake going around and biting its tail, that's going to be an open path. And so open paths obviously can have corner anchor points or smooth anchor points, and that goes for closed paths as well. But if you want to draw a line, you drop your last anchor point and then press enter or return, and now you have a line that you're able to move around. So those different paths that we're looking at are closed paths and open paths. and this is the difference between them. You're looking at shapes and lines, but you need to begin thinking about that terminology just a little bit differently.